Hi, and welcome back to another episode of SEO On Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we have Christy and Kevin, managing partners at Cadence SEO. We talk about the basic and advanced SEO strategies, link building trends people should follow, and the importance of email marketing. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
So one question I should probably ask as well is how did Cadence SEO kind of start up and what's the story behind that?
So we started a different brand first with some partners, and it didn't go so well. We didn't get along super well with the partners, so we broke up. And we just started over, and we needed a new name. Well, we're both runners. We like the name Cadence, so we just like a running cadence. We decided to start Cadence SEO. We grew it pretty quickly using almost exclusively cold outbound email. Yeah, and I mean, not to say that we don't have plans or a plan, but I do kind of feel like we're more go with the flow. It has
Right.
grown into what it has by the grace of God, and we're just always committed to doing the best that we can with what we have and doing the best for our clients. So we've grown to 24 employees, and I think we have about 90 clients. Not bad for 3 years.
I'll give you a little bit of context. I am the owner of a SaaS company. We provide an online solution for, we can probably use the banking one as well to kind of help you and learn more about banking. I think the most starter question I can probably ask is if I do have my website set up, what would be some basic SEO steps I could use to kind of help me grow?
One of the first things I tell people to do is to take a look at their page titles. And don't worry about everything being perfect, but think about, all right, let's say you don't have any tools. What's the best thing I want this page to rank for? Go put it in the SERPs. What are
Okay.
their titles? The title is the visible, clickable thing in the search results. I'm acting like you're just a business owner. Always explain it.
Yeah.
And
No
your meta
worries.
description is that little blurb of text that appears right below it. What are they putting there? Do you see a common theme? Odds are, if you rework whatever the top 10 ranking SERPs titles are, it's going to be a pretty good title for you. Yes, there's a character count limit, etc., but just start with that. I can tell you how many small business owners I talk to who still have their main focus keyword on the page by their homepage title as the word home, because they just didn't know that they were supposed to put it as something. Go there, put your main focus keyword as your lead keyword, and already you're going to be better off than you were 10 minutes before you did that. The next thing to take a look at is, what are you passionate about? Why do you run this business? Write about it.
Okay.
Start getting
Like start of a
content up,
blog.
URLs, start your blog, start getting content indexed so that you can start building up your keyword relevancy for that theme in the search engines. Google is not going to rank somebody for education if there's a single core service page and not any other content talking about it. Why them? It's not just about having the best one page of content. Your whole site needs to showcase to the search engines that you are really relevant for this topic. And yes, the blog, knowledge base, whatever you want to call it, is typically the place where that's easiest to showcase.
I'm assuming because I'm just a business owner, not really too much into the digital marketing or SEO field. I have heard of Chat GPT. Should I be, let's say, just copy pasting some of that content from my metal title descriptions and just blog content? Or would
I
you
would
advise against it?
strongly advise against just copying and pasting anything from ChatGPT. However, ChatGPT can give you really good content topic ideas. If you say, hey, I want to be really relevant for this topic, what are some things that are trending? What are some content ideas? ChatGPT can be great for that. You can use Bard, not ChatGPT because it's not live, to ask it for what's the average length of copy around this, to get an idea for how long your content needs to be. You can use AI tools, absolutely, but I would never copy and paste the answers. ChatGPT can
Right.
hallucinate and just make stuff up, and you could have actually inaccurate stuff on your website, and anybody could ask the same prompt. If you're going to use ChatGPT, which is fine to use, just make sure that you review, you edit, you add your own twist, and you definitely make sure it's accurate and ask it to cite sources. But I would never just copy and paste.
Like just to add on to that, I think also it's pretty much outdated content. I think their knowledge is up until 2021 September.
Yep.
So even if you do try getting it for a bit of information here and there, it could be outdated by a long time.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that we've normally talked about is that if you are using an AI tool, it's kind of like a 50-50 approach, where 50 is on the tool and 50 is the actual human interaction to either edit it or proof it.
Yeah.
Would you, let's say, suggest then to kind of use the tool, but then with that, grain of salt of always checking it and, double down on it?
I would check yourself. Does it save you time? Then yeah, use it. For me, when I'm trying to come up with content outlines, it doesn't save me time. It's faster for me just to throw my keyword in the search results, look at who's there, do a quick analysis. But for someone else who maybe isn't as familiar with the old school way of doing it, if it saves you time, why not use it?
Right.
I think that varies person to person.
Yeah, and I feel like this might not be like the best kind of questions I should be asking as well. Because if I am, let's say, a business owner, I should probably be learning the actual ropes of everything and not shifting and depending on a AI tool instead. So
Yeah,
let's say I kind of, yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead.
So let's say I kind of work out my meta titles and descriptions. I've now put my focus keyword in the right areas. I've started my blog and I'm writing a bit passionately about it as well. The content production, let's say, is not going as quickly as expected because I'm not using ChatGPT. But I've kind of got, let's say, the basics kind of taken care of. What would be like the more advanced strategies that I could use? And if I have to do this, can I still do it by myself or should I be hiring out a new team?
Whenever I talk to business owners, when they ask me if I should hire, well, usually they're talking to us, should they hire us or not? I always try to help them break it down to return on their investment. How much is your time worth and how much are you spending on it? And if you spent it somewhere else, would you be more productive and make more money? Because this is still a business. And how much is your average value per sale and how fast do you think we're going to be able to get you leads? The one thing that most business owners cannot do on their own is link building. With SEO, it's your content and your link profile. You need better content, and that's site as a whole, and better links than your competitors in order to outrank them. You can make a content site that's just beautiful and has all the information you want on a said topic, but if you have nobody linking to you, you're probably not going to do very well. So
Right.
that's something that's very difficult for business owners to do. I encourage people, put out press releases once a quarter. That's something you can usually do low cost on your own if you weren't ready to hire an agency. Or you can respond to the emails of people that offer to showcase you. Everybody gets them in their inbox. I never respond with, yeah, I'll do that for $2,300. I almost always respond with, how about $100? I usually get somewhere a lot better, but even those, it doesn't matter. They help you get seen and visible. Once you're to the point where you're either spending too much time or you're not getting enough return on your time, where you're not getting the leads, that's when you should consider hiring an agency. Is, do I have the budget to do this, and is it going to save me money in the long run? Because otherwise, I'm using up all of my own time, which is taking away from running my business.
All right. I mean, I think for this particular situation, I'm going to hire out an agency, let's say. Let's say I hire Cadence and I ask you guys, hey, listen, I need help with my website and I need a proper audit of my website done. What would be, let's say, the steps that you guys take to kind of check what exactly is the health of my website?
So we always will crawl using Screaming Frog. I think that's like a basic table stakes for starting an audit. But we also will look at it from a human perspective. Manually look through the website. Do your on-page match your intent? Do your buttons work? I can't believe how many times I go on a website and people's buttons just don't work. I'll do a comparison up against you, and I usually ask clients for their top 3 to 5 competitors to get an idea of what are they doing better than you? What are you doing better than them? How do we capitalize on what you're doing better, and how do we go after where they're beating you? And give them an action plan. Technically, you need to look at schema markup, broken internal links, Best Buy links with the 404 that report from Ahrefs. I almost always find things on there showing people where they're just bleeding out their link profile. Some of the more complicated sites, if they've just done a redirect or a URL structure change, oftentimes people will come to me and their guesstimated traffic in the tools looks like this. And it might even be from 2-3 years ago. If you do a date compare, and then manually click through what page is lost. And then you analyze those pages for when do they still exist, or are they 404s? Was there content that used to exist? What is it that caused that to drop? And then you diagnose and evaluate. It's always technical content or a loss of links, which usually is tied to technical almost every time. I mean, SEO is not that complicated. It's content, which
Right.
ties in the technical and your links. So understanding what those are and how to grow it always goes back to those buckets.
Right.
B2B SaaS is a little less reliant on local. I know if we were talking about a local play, you would have another set there of your map listing, but most of the clients that we work with, not all, but most, we aren't talking about their GMB or their Google My Business to audit that as well.
Right. So pretty much a very comprehensive audit to find out every little nook and cranny, I guess.
You shouldn't try to build a house on a weak foundation. So I would never try to go work on a website that we hadn't at least uncovered why something was wrong with it. Now, I say at least uncovered because sometimes you're dealing with clients that will not allow you to log in and fix, and you let their dev team know and you follow up for 6 months. And those things are not fixed. It doesn't mean we can't make growth, but we're not going to do as fast of growth. But yeah, you should know what you're dealing with. And then we re-audit the site at least every quarter. We try to capture every site every month. We call them site checks, which are basically mini audits where we go through and recheck everything and see what else broke. Websites follow the second law of thermodynamics, just like we do. Everything will go to chaos without diligent intervention. So will your website. So don't assume it's fixed just because you fixed it 3 months ago. Check it again.
Right. I think that's kind of like the SEO motto. You can't just do it once and you're done. You just got to keep going into it every week, every day. And then you'd only see the progress. And then you still have to do it every day and again to just maintain that. But when it comes to, let's say, website development, are there, let's say, some basics I can probably clean up there as well for my website?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's say a hard blanket question to answer because it really does get down into, I mean, once we get into the depths of it and start looking at the technical aspects of your site, do we have plugin issues? What is it being built on? What kind of hurdles can we have? Like, for example, certain platforms will have limitations. So those are all questions that we ask kind of out of the gate. But if you're asking as a business owner, or let's assume that you're on WordPress, part of our technical audit aspect is not just an audit of your site to look at, page titles, on-page SEO elements, what's your backlink profiles, you have broken pages, etc. We also want to go in and make sure that you're not just bogged down with plugin after plugin after plugin, plugins to fix other plugins and stuff like that. We want to make sure that your website's as clean as possible, operating, functioning as fast as possible. Page speed's obviously probably the thorn in most SEO's side is page speed, especially if we're talking about custom build sites, or, are we looking at just being bogged down in general from large images? So from a development side of things, there's a vast array of things that can happen, and it's a constant on the fly thing. Because if you know anything about web development, especially if you're taking on somebody else's site that you weren't responsible for developing, not saying they did it wrong, but 9 times out of 10, they did it different than what might have been considered straightforward. So our goal as a company, if we're doing any development work or anything, that is to make it as straight and clean as possible, that where our clients, again, we mentioned most of our client base are not, they don't have a lot of times we take on the development portion of their team, for that matter, right? We'll bring that into under our umbrella of services, to where if they need stuff to fix their SEO, that's the development side of things. They don't have a developer to do that. They paid a developer to build their site, and then that's kind of the last time they talk to them. So we will offer that as a service. So if we're looking at page speed, it might be adding a plugin to minify their CSS and JavaScript, or so there's so many different technical things. So I'm sorry to kind of give you a broad brushed answer, but it's there's no single client, no single case in point that is exactly the same. One thing I really dislike, especially for the kind of the size of companies that we work with on a regular basis, is a full custom code set, right? Like if you're working on a WordPress and somebody has, fully GitHubbed it up and everything is custom coded, they don't have a theme, they're not using a general WordPress theme, they've gone and created their own child theme of whatever to do whatever, that doesn't get WordPress support, doesn't update as regularly, or doesn't update at all. So our goal is to, in many cases, we work with clients to recover from that custom code setup to get into a more functioning, manageable WordPress environment or a Shopify environment, or we don't need to get into other platforms, but we try to make it as turnkey as possible when we're working on a client site that, God forbid, they chose to work with someone else or take off or try it on their own, that they're not stuck trying to scramble to find a developer to fix their issues. So that's one of my biggest heart points when it comes to either rebuilding a client's site or working on the custom code elements of the site, is that we make it as uncustom as possible, that they can continue to update WordPress. There's no security concerns because all your plugins are able to be updated without breaking. So there's so much we can do from a technical side of things. It's right. the opportunity to improve, and the unfortunately some of the things we get into is endless.
This might be a personal question though. When it comes to, let's say, platforms, if I had approached you for help with my development side of things, but I told you that I use Wix, how fast would you reject me?
If you use Wix, I would take you in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've had
100%.
very different reviews on Wix and how it's not meant for, let's say, large businesses.
We have some very successful clients that are on Wix that we've been working with for, almost from day one, that have seen massive growth. And Wix itself as a platform has taken huge strides in what's available to be done. Yes, it does. It have its limitations. Does Squarespace have its limitations? Right. Does Shopify, as big as Shopify is, still has technical limitations? What is it? I'm trying to think of HubSpot that has tons of limitations as well. So we try not to turn away anybody when it comes to platform-specific kind of environments. We have platforms from Contentful to Strappy to, we don't just work on WordPress, Shopify. Like that's right. Not our, we haven't, because most of our client base, either they have chosen that platform based on a recommendation of a developer or somebody who they worked with, or a friend or a cousin or somebody, or they didn't know any better and chose Wix. And
that's me.
But that's you. Okay. But it doesn't. But today Wix is not a know any better environment though. Like right. It is a full-fledged, like you can, yeah, sure. Back in the day, their blog used to be on WordPress. We don't have to talk about that, but I would say that Wix is a sufficient platform. Now, there are some that I will cringe in the background if you said, this is our platform. There's a lot of companies out there that make that build platforms for specific purposes that maybe don't have the serviceability, or that could be a challenge for somebody to work on. But we're not going to turn you away because of it.
Okay. Another question would be, would you have, let's say, a personal favorite when it comes to these platforms, or do you enjoy all of them equally?
I wouldn't say enjoy them all equally. For the case of ease of use, I still think WordPress kind of takes the cake. From customization perspective, if you do need to do custom elements, but want a more out-of-the-box solution that you can just plug and play. Now, if you ask me if it's a WordPress, so WordPress for your basic websites, if we're talking about, client-facing B2B, need to, want to run an active blog, want to, get contact form fills, things like that.
You can take the example we're using as a SaaS company. So, I mean, pretty much, would it make a difference then what platform I choose for this particular, let's say, industry, or does it come down to the customization part?
Yeah, so I mean, I think in this case, WordPress was the choice, and reason being is that there was easy integrations with other platforms that they're using. If there's some sort of LMS involved or something that has to be integrated, WordPress tends to be easier to work on in that case. Now, if you're coming to me with an e-commerce site and you're saying, I want to build my site from the start, I would probably urge you towards Shopify, just because of the ease of use on the front end for the user and the client itself. WooCommerce is not bad, but requires a little bit more knowledge of coding and things to make it look really good. If you want a basic WordPress look and feel, you're fine with WordPress, with WordPress and WooCommerce. Not a bad platform, but if you want it to do anything to be fancy looking, then I'd say Shopify is probably my favorite choice from a tech side of things.
But email marketing, how do I start it off? What are some common mistakes you'll see me make? And if you can as well, what are some benefits I can take from it?
I think the biggest mistake people make is making it super long. Nobody wants to scroll to read what you had to say if you just reached out to them without an invitation. So keep it really short, to the point. Kevin could get into the technical, but we learned the hard way. Don't send from your own domain. You'll burn that domain if you do any scale. Make sure you're protecting the spam score, or else you can't get your emails delivered at all. And if you can't get them delivered, it doesn't matter what's in them because nobody opened them. Right. That's the biggest mistake. And then just giving up. Like, people think that with sales or outbound, you just send one and, oh, they didn't want to talk to me, so forget it. 5 times, guys. It takes 5 touches before somebody's going to respond to you on average. So don't give up. Also, don't be afraid of rejection. I don't care if you told me to stop emailing you. I will stop emailing you, but it didn't hurt my feelings that you responded negatively to me. You want to get the fastest way to a yes or the fastest way to a no, so you don't waste your time. So, and from a technical side of things, Kevin could probably go into that, but yeah, we are very careful with our outbound email for ourselves and for our clients. We send from a unique domain extension that is not their website. Kevin sets them up with SendGrid, and we actually use Apollo to send our emails as well. So you're getting like a double layer.
Right. Before Kevin can get into the technical side, one quick question is, when it comes to, let's say, following up with an email, is there like a specific time I should be waiting, or should I be following up almost every day?
So we do automated. And the cadence that we use is we send you an email, we follow up between 1 and 2 days after, and then we usually give you like a 3-day, and then we follow up again immediately the following day, and then we'll usually give them a week rest and send again with a new subject line, a new kind of catch instead of in the chain.
Right.
So don't be super annoying. Well. Don't do like every 5 minutes. Don't do multiple times a day, but you do want to be a little bit annoying, because they're either that's going to force you to stop and look and be like, okay, do I really want to talk to these people? And that's what you want them to do. You want them to stop and look and decide if they want to talk to you or not, and then let you know.
Thank you so much for the chat, guys. I wish we had a longer time. I'll try to get you guys on the next call as well, so we can do, let's say, more talking about the link building. But this was great. I didn't see the time really fly by that quickly. But thank you all for pretty much joining and giving us this explanation. Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.